Joining us now, Republican Congressman from Texas, GOP presidential hopeful, Ron Paul. And Congressman, it's a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you, Dylan.
Your thoughts on everybody coming around to your way of thinking?
Well, I hope it's true. It looks like they've certainly moved in that direction, and I think it reflects the fact that the people have awakened, and that's where they're coming from right now. The American people are tired of it. 10 years is way too much. Nobody, as you described, that has defined what our goals are and how victory could be achieved. So they're sick and tired of it. We're flat-out broke. The sooner the better. I thought something you mentioned was very, very important. They bring a token 10,000 troops home, or a few troops, but you mentioned the fact of the contractors. What if they add 10,000, contracting out this war? It was done in Iraq, and now it's been done in Afghanistan. It's much bigger than just measuring the number of troops there, but overall it's the policy. What are we there for? What is the purpose? Does it serve our interests, our national interests? And I would say no, there's no real purpose there. And Senator Mencken made that very important point. China's achieving more than we achieve with all our fighting and killing and militarism, and the Chinese are out classifying us as capitalists. They loan us money, and they invest their money because they have most of our money. We've spent it over there. So we have really turned our system on its head, and we have to change it. But economic events are going to force us to do it, and I think it's coming soon.
How do we exploit this opportunity of a field in the Republican primary that almost to a man or a woman wants redefinition of the Afghanistan mission, if not outright troop withdrawal, along with everybody from Senator Joe Manchin, Senator Bernie Sanders? I can line up a whole string of Democrats who would agree with you. How do we get the convergence of those disparate communities to wield force on the president and Republican leadership in the House?
Well, I can see why people become disenchanted because, when George Bush Jr. ran in the year 2000, I liked what he was saying. He said we should have a humble foreign policy. We shouldn't be a nation building. But immediately afterwards, he changed that policy. And then Obama was elected more or less as the peace candidate. Most people held out and say, he will change the direction of the George Bush administration, but nothing changes. So that's why the American people get so tired of it all. But I think it won't happen until we're routed for economic reasons, like the Soviets were routed. Because right now, even with a fancy speech tonight, I don't think we're going to lie back and say, hey, we finally turned the ban and we are leaving. I think we're there for a long time to come. I think we're there as long as the people will take our dollars, and we're going to keep spending. Very, very dangerous situation.
Would you ultimately argue that the narrative you just described from George Bush to President Obama, we're talking about Republican and Democratic leadership in terms of their rhetoric, that the inability for the machine to respond to the people is a direct reflection of the military-industrial complex's control of our military resources and foreign policy?
No, I think so. I think the control is by the special interests, just as the control for bailing out the banks and the big corporations. The people didn't want that. They're the ones who got shortchanged on that. And when it comes to our foreign policy, it's managed by the big corporations. It's managed by, those who make a lot of money, the war profits. And it's a form of corporatism that exists. And that's why we are getting a growing consensus with this from the progressive left as well as the libertarian right. We are coming together, but it's just a major undertaking to attack the status quo, and because you just can't always believe the rhetoric. I mean, the people have been hoodwinked too many times. They have to be able to trust the individual who says enough is enough, it's time to come home, and certainly that is my position. A long time ago, I thought we should have come home.
And how could we go about doing this? I've been looking at the narrative, this withdrawal narrative that the White House is pushing, I suppose in the hope that everybody in the media comes out and says, President Obama launches withdrawal, without looking deep enough to see that 10,000 troops, not to mention the ability to hire 10,000 people with the contractors, is an insult to all of us. Yeah. What would it really look like in your mind if we were going to withdraw?
Well, there would be an announcement. Our president could do it. He's in charge of the troops. He can just say, look, it's time to come home. We're going to back off. We're going to systematically come home as safely as possible and as quickly as possible. And I think once the announcement was made and the people knew we were serious, there would be a lot of reassurance. Maybe some of the American capitalists would once again invest some money, as the Chinese capitalists are doing right now. I mean, the Chinese not only are investing in Afghanistan, they're investing in Iran. We want to fight. We want another war with Iran, instead of saying, well, why don't we spread our goodness by trading with people? I mean, there was one time, of course, in recent memory, especially for me, that all we did was want to shoot and kill each other over the Korean War and the Chinese. But now we trade with the Chinese. I mean, what is so terrible about that? Because it is the way to preserve peace and prosperity at the same time. Yeah,
listen, Congressman, as I said to Senator Manchin, I'll say it to you, I could not agree more, and I wish you all the best in your efforts, and we'll do everything we can to help you, particularly on the issue of the war. Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you very much.
All right, Ron Paul.